welcome to another exciting adventure on the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, and tonight's guest is a guest who I am so excited to have on the show. She has such a range of topics to pick from, so we are going to do our best to kind of swim our way through them all and kind of help give you all a little taste into all that she does because she does a lot. I'm not going to lie. And one thing I will say though, ahead of schedule, and this is something I do, and I haven't told her about this though, is from my heart and the heart of my shows to you, June. Thank you for your service. Thank you for that sacrifice. My dad was in the
You're
Navy,
welcome.
so I always love to say thank you and point out when I have a veteran on because that to me that is an important journey and needs recognition. And so now with that being said, I am going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself to everyone and share a little bit about yourself. So I give you the one, the only psychic medium, demon seer, healer, founder of a paranormal team, investigator, researcher, communicator, etc., etc., etc. A woman of many hats, June Lundgren.
Yeah, sometimes too many hats. I was born with abilities. My grandmother raised me uh, for the first 5 years of my life. She was a psychic medium as well. But there was a family prophecy handed down from female to female in our family from the 400s. All of the females in our family have abilities. It's only the females. But the prophecy said that a female child would be born with the ability to see, hear, communicate, and kill demons. And she knew the minute she held me that I was the fulfillment of the prophecy. And it's kind of, to me, it just seems normal. I can talk to animals. I hear them like I'm talking to you. I just have regular conversations with them. Um, I try to help them if they have problems, and I do healing. And I've had the ability to see demons in their true form since I was about 4.5 years old. Before that, I saw them as most humans do, a black mass or a black figure or smoke. But after that, I saw them as the angels do. And all my life, Michael, the archangel's been with me. And he told me, he says, you're seeing them through the eyes of an angel because you have an angelic soul. When you're a kid, you don't know what that means, so you just, blow it off. But he says, I want you to watch the demons. I want you to learn how they work and what they do because you're going to need it when you get older. When you're a kid, you think it's just a game. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's cool. He says, I'll protect you from them. They won't be able to see you. So, I thought it was a cool thing. But I had my first demonic encounter when I was in the military. And I was called out. I was working in an emergency room. I was called out to one of the barracks where a young man had gone missing for 3 days. And they were concerned that they were going to find him dead in his room. So they asked us, myself and another tech, to go to the barracks. And he opened up the door, and the man was sitting against the wall, curled up into a ball. And I couldn't tell if he was alive or dead. So I entered the room, and I heard a sound, and I saw a demon that was up in the ceiling in the corner. And I'm like, oh crap. So I went over to him. He was breathing, slow pulse. So we took to the emergency room. And we got there, we put him in a room, and then I went to get IV supplies, came back, and the demon was leaning over him, trying to draw his life force out of him. And that's the first time I saw my angel come forward. And my consciousness, it's almost like somebody else stepped in front of me and said, this one belongs to us. And whatever the demon saw, he ran the other way. So the young man, I went and saw him before he got out of the hospital. And he said, I had the strangest dream. He said, I had a dream that there was a demon was trying to take my soul. And a female warrior angel came and scared it away. And I told him, I said, oh, that's just God telling you he's got your back. Don't worry about it. I found out what happened afterwards, that he went to a party on base and someone had put angel dust in his soda. He is a chaplain's assistant. He wouldn't hurt anybody. But he got out of the military after that, of course. He does weird things to you.
Yes, and
that was my first one where I interacted with one. Yeah.
and so I'm kind of
Then
curious because oh, go ahead.
when I died and went to the other side, I was riding my motorcycle and some woman ran a red light and hit me on my bike. And so I was clinically dead for 2 minutes. Went to the other side, and Michael says, you're here because you need to understand who and what you are. And when you go to the other side and you're only there temporary, your physical consciousness, you see things through your physical consciousness more than your soul consciousness. And he says, you need to understand that this isn't who you are, this physical shell. He said, your soul is Ariel the Archangel. She's a demon slayer. It's time that you went back and did the work you're supposed to do. And he touched my forehead, and he says, this is who you truly are. And I said, well, I don't have a mirror. I can't see. And the minute I said that, a mirror appeared. And I was like 7 feet tall, 12-foot wingspan. I had long, dark auburn hair and blue-green eyes. And I looked fierce. And he says, this is Ariel. You need to understand she's a part of you. And you're to do the job, the work. I'm like, you couldn't give me some airy-fairy stuff? You have to give me the nasty stuff, He says, no, Ariel likes killing demons. So that's why you get it. I'm like, gee, thanks.
Although I would be like, that's the best friend I
So I've
had.
been doing that. Been killing demons ever since.
Yeah. So, question I have for
You'd be surprised
you.
at the amount of people that don't want to know a demon seer.
Oh, believe me. So I'm kind of curious around what was it like for you? Like, what impact did it have on your life hearing you were the one to fulfill a prophecy? Because I had that told to me as well. Like, I was born in a prophecy, but then I was like, it kind of messed my head up a little bit. So I'm curious what it was like for you hearing that.
It didn't bother me. It's almost like everything falls into place. And it's, hearing the story from my grandmother when I was a child, and it being such a part of the family and my grandmother being a medium, it's it's as natural. It's like removing demons. That's as natural as breathing. I don't fear them. I don't worry about them. I don't. It to me is I put my pants on like you do, one leg at a time. I don't really think of anything special. I just do the work.
No, that's really cool that you can do that. And so as you're doing, as you're coming across, and walking through, regular day life, does Ariel ever come through and say, "Hey, I want to experience this, and so let's go do this," or does she kind of say, "Okay, we're in the Earth realm, you're in control. When this arrives, I'll take
Well,
control."
it's it's a 50-50 partnership. But the thing is, she didn't come into the physical world willingly. She was there was an incident that happened in 1198 AD where there was a woman who cried out, you know, I'm possessed by a demon. She asked God to send her somebody to help. And so Ariel was sent. And when she got there, she knew that the demon had been summoned by the woman. And she had no care for the woman at all. It's like, you summoned this demon. So she reached in and she ripped the demon out of the woman, and it killed the physical body of the woman. And God was upset with her. And he said, you have no compassion for mankind. You have no care. He said, you're going to go back and live physical world lives until you learn to have compassion. And this is life number 131. So, she's pretty stubborn.
I was say that's not an easy task sometimes. Looking at the world around us, I'm like,
Nah,
yeah, it's gonna be a while.
yeah. And she considers it being stuck in a shell, a physical body. It's not something that she enjoys. That's why basically she has one leg on the other side and one leg in this world. I hear everything she hears. I see everything she sees. I know everything she knows, and vice versa. So it's it's good for her because she gets to understand humans, because the archangels have been, energy for so long that they really don't have a good understanding of what it means to be human. They haven't been physical for trillions of years. I mean, you're going to forget about that. And so every time she leaves the physical world, every time the body dies and she leaves the physical world, she goes to the other side and she lets them connect with her and experience the things that she's experienced in the physical world, so they can understand better what man is going through. Because otherwise they have no way to connect with it. Just like there's no distance on the other side and there's no time. It'd be like you being in your living room and walking over to the window, and you're in a whole other country. You can be in a million places at the same time.
That's very true.
And
And
thought becomes reality in the light realm and the dark realm. Yeah.
right. And so one thing I would like to ask is we talk about the warrior angels, and I know before we started I
Mhm.
asked, about the powers and different angels. Would you mind going over and kind of sharing your knowledge of the different angels that are out there and maybe educate some people on some of the angels that they may never have heard of because they're not talked about much?
Yeah, a lot of the archangels are unknown to man, per se. I know all their names only because Ariel knows all their names. And there is a hierarchy in heaven. There is, you know, God and his son. Then there's the Legion of Light, which is comprised of Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Ariel. And they are in charge of the other archangels. And then after the archangels, there are warrior angels. And then the next ones down are common angels and then common souls. The warrior angels are a special breed. They have to have absolute dedication to the light. They have to be able to sacrifice themselves for the light. And each warrior angel has to basically apply for the job, so to speak, and they have to prove themselves, because you can't just say, okay, I'm a warrior angel. No, you have to be, they put you through tests, and it has to be proven. You cannot just say, okay, promote me to a warrior angel, I'm good. But because there are those that don't make it, and they have to continue to strive to be better. And the common angels are the younger ones. They'd be like, the elementary school group. Then the warrior angels are the ones that have graduated, and so on. But there are over 300,000 warrior angels incarnated in the world right now, and over 300 million of them in angelic form walking there right now. There are only 7 archangels incarnated right now. A lot of people think that archangels do not incarnate, but that's not true. They incarnate usually for a reason. Either God has given them a job to do, so they need to come down and do it, or they're striving to learn a lesson, like Ariel. She's trying to cultivate patience and have compassion for mankind. And I think this is the last life she's going to live as a human. And I think she's finally learned to have compassion. Although she prefers animals over humans. But
I think most do, so we can't fault her for that. So,
what's that?
I was saying most humans, I think, prefer animals over humans, so we can't really fault her for that idea, because that's a human idea. So,
Yeah, well, if you stop and think about it, uh, the animals don't have the baggage we do and the hang-ups we do as humans. Animals are like, whatever, move on.
that's true. And with your knowledge and your familiarity with the angels and the warrior angels, I've come across, and a few people know of, but nobody really, kind of really explains what happened and what caused the. I'm trying to think of the right term, because some call it the war in heaven. Others say it was like a civil war on the
Oh, what
angels.
between heaven and hell?
Well, it was like the angels turned
That's
on
not
each
what happened.
other.
People
And
don't understand. No. What happened was, billions of years ago, trillions of years ago, we had physical form. Okay. We evolved into pure energy over time. And once everyone evolved into pure energy, we traveled as one group. We traveled galaxies, universes, saw everything we could see, saw stars being born, black holes dying, things like races, creatures being created, races, being created. And we did that for a long time, trillions of years. And then we decided one day, we're tired of this. We've seen everything we could see. We've done everything we could do. We'd like to have a physical form now. And God said, that's okay. If that's what you want, then I'm good with that. But Lucifer and his followers did not want that. Lucifer decided that he was going to raise up against God and the archangels, him and his followers. And there was a fight, and it would have lasted, probably lasts about a year on this side, but only a few moments on the other side. And Lucifer was disarmed by Michael, and Ariel disarmed his son. And God said, "You cannot live among us anymore." Says you can't do it. So he opened a rift into a dark realm. And he said, here you go. This is where you're going to exist from now on. Here's your kingdom. And then he sealed the rift. And at first they were good with it because they didn't want to be in a physical shell. They didn't want to be subject to disease, aging, growing old, pain, anything like that. They didn't want to have that. So they were good at it. At the time they've grown revenge. They've grown vengeance and nasty. And they want vengeance on the white light entities, the angels that put them in there. So that's why they will attack humans, because every physical body has a white light soul in it. So they just want to make you as miserable as possible. And they're pretty good at that job.
Yes, they are. And we have a question for you in the chat room. John
Mm-hmm.
Dorch 8336 is saying, oops, click the wrong button. There we go. What are the names of the seven archangels, and are four of them the Legion of Light?
Yes. Ariel, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael form the Legion of Light. Metatron and Melchizedek and Ezrael and Azrael as well.
Okay, and since you were born and you said at 4.5 you were able to see demons in their true form, what was that like, for you going through life? Would you go into meetings with people and be like, oh, I can't work here because you guys are infiltrated by these things and I don't want to be around that? Or,
Yeah, that's yeah, that's the thing. I can see them everywhere all the time, and it's if they're causing problems, then I'll kill them, no problem. But if they're not causing any problems, if they're just watching or whatever, I warn them off. I tell them, don't be pissing me off, and don't be doing something you shouldn't be doing. But when I turned 4.5 is when I saw them in their true form, and people can make up all kinds of things where they think they're half goat, half man, all kinds of weird, creepy thingies. But in actuality, they look a lot like archangels. They're 7 feet tall, 12-foot wingspan, but that's where the similarities end. They're shades of charcoal and black and gray, and they have almost no facial features. The only features that they have are their eyes. And the old demons and Lucifer have golden eyes, and the minions all have red eyes. But if you look into their eyes, you see every evil, every atrocity you can ever imagine, and 1,000 times worse. You're never the same. There's only been 3 people who wanted to see what I see, because I can make people see what I see, but they all regretted it. And it's not just something I do out of nothing. I have a friend that's a ordained minister, and he wanted to see, and he's like, "Yep, never want to see that again." I'm like, "Okay." And then Zach Baggins on Ghost Adventures, he really didn't want to see that again, I'm sure.
So,
And then a
do you
friend of
have
mine who
you?
was a medium, he wanted to see, and he regretted that as well.
Yeah. So, since you can help people see,
What's that?
can you? Since you can help people see, can you take it back if they say no, I don't want this anymore? Or once your eyes are open, they're always
I always
open.
take it back. Yeah, no, they won't. They can never forget what they see, but they'll never be able to see it on their own. That's it is like Zach. I told him, I said, you have to come back here so I can take it away from you. I said, the sight away from you, because He called Billy Tully and said, I'm seeing things years. Come back and get it taken away from you. So I came back and I removed it. I would not wish that on anyone. And for me, it's every day. So it doesn't bother me. Not after this many years.
No, I can imagine. And we, so I'm gonna kind of side shift for a second off of the demon aspect, and because I want to look at something, and that is when you say, you can hear animals and communicate with
Mm-hmm.
animals as if talking with us. Was it like they show in the movies Dr. Doolittle where the animal is like in front of you and you start hearing them and you're like, what? Or, how did this unfold for you?
I, I have, well, when I was a baby and I lived with my grandparents, I, she knew, my grandmother knew I had the ability to communicate with the animals because my grandparents had a farm. So all the animals would come to me and the dogs and the cats would sleep under my crib. And she said they would look like you would look like you were having conversations with them. So, but it's all telepathic. And so it's like I have to make that contact unless they make it first. And 9 times out of 10, they won't make it first because they're not used to humans understanding. But the one thing about having angelic energy is the animals are attracted to me. They automatically come. And I will tell them, I will start communicating with them. And at first, they're kind of startled and taken aback by the fact that they can understand me. And they're like, "Can you understand me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I hear you." And then they start talking, like, "This is what's going on. This is what's wrong. This is what I need." I'm like, or I'll have people that will contact me and they'll send me a picture and I can talk to the animal and help them with their issues. A lot of times they have, if they're a rescue dog and things like that, I can help them understand and get rid of the bad things that happen to them.
No, that's a really cool gift to have. And have you ever been like walking down the street and then like all the animals are like parading behind you because they're all like, we want to talk, we want to talk. You're the one that can understand us.
Usually they don't want. Usually they can't get out of their yard or their house. They just know somebody goes by. When I was a kid, they would follow me all around the farm, you know. And I live on a farm now, so we've had animals. I have 3 dogs right now. One time we had 8. They grow old and they die. But yeah, I know I communicate with the cows I had, the chickens, pigs, whatever. It don't make no difference.
Which animal for you was when you started communicating with them being like, wow, you actually can communicate? That, surprised you the most, that, having the ability to speak and
Oh,
think.
bugs. I don't like bugs. They have no attention span whatsoever. Oh my gosh. To talk to a spider or a fly or a gnat, now I know where they got the expression. You have the attention span of a gnat. It's true. They have no attention span. I'm telling you that right now. They don't. Bugs, I don't like to talk to bugs because they just don't listen half the time, tell you the truth.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. And so, have you ever watched a movie
Fish are
or
pretty good at
watched
communicating.
have you ever watched a movie or a TV show about, something that you do and go, oh wow, they're actually pretty close to how it works? Or Yeah, that's nowhere near what actually how it's done, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned a long time ago when that it's kind of like being a nurse and you're watching the hospital shows and you're like, really? That doesn't happen. That's not what you would do. It's the same thing with the, mediumship stuff. Like that old show, The Ghost Whisperer. It's
Right.
amazing how she only saw one ghost at a time. That never happens. You just don't see one ghost at a time. I mean, if I'm walking down the street, there were thousands of souls walking around. 9 times out of 10, unless they want something from you, they just move on. It's like being down in New York down at rush hour. Everybody's just going in one direction, or everybody's paying attention to their own thing, and they don't want to talk to anybody. But if they want to talk to you, they'll stop and communicate with you. But most of it, and ghosts know where you're going to be before you know where you're going to be. That I don't do graveyards because of that. And I just got back from England and I went to Highgate, which is London's big graveyard. So there's a lot of souls there that are just, complaining about things or passing through. Or George Michael's buried there, and he kept making that stupid song Father Figure go through my head. I'm like, knock it off. I don't want to hear that song. It's like, give me a break. It's like things like, and the guy that wrote A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is buried there. And he's like, do you like, and it's because if you go there, they like come and it's like, did you like the movie? What did you think? I'm like, it was too weird for words.
Yeah. Yeah, and so another question I have and I'm curious about is when you're doing the mediumship work, because you can communicate like with the animals. Have
Mhm.
you ever been in a session with someone and going, okay, your loved ones are here, but I gotta stop and because your animals are insisting on talking to me about something
Mhm.
right now, and ever have like both
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
at the same time?
Oh yeah. It'd be like going into the waiting room at the doctor's office. It's like, okay, you know, everybody's here. Okay, so the cat's here, the dog's here, the cow's here. Your uncle's here, your mom's here, your dad's here. Everybody. I always tell them telepathically, take a number. Who wants to talk first? Because I can't all talk at the same time. But I will let people know, like, if they've had an animal that's passed, and they'll show up and stuff like that, and they're happy about that.
Have they ever shared what it's like over there where they're at, or do they focus more on what's going on here?
Well, if it's an earthbound spirit, it's different. If it's an earthbound spirit, they've never ascended, then they will still be in their physical world mindset, and they know what it's like here. They're determined to get a message to somebody, or they're watching over somebody. But for the most part, they only come into the physical world if they have something to do, like a message to give, or something to do for God. So, but for the most part, they don't really hang out here in the physical world. There are 26 realms of existence, and there's the one when we do our battles with the dark entities. There's a realm called, I call it the no man's land, because it's a realm where both light and dark can go to do battle, and that's an unusual realm of existence. It looks like a big giant field surrounded by trees, and it's like the days when the knights were fought against each other. How they would run at each other and do battle in the middle. It's kind of like what it's like, you know.
And I'm trying to figure out how to word this because I'm wanting to address the other aspect of you and something that she might, be able to share light on. And so if you can answer it, okay. If not, I understand. But you were saying, like, angels have to prove themselves to be like the warrior angels.
Hmm.
What is that
Right.
process like? What, do they, have to go through trials and tribulations, or, you know, how
Yeah,
how do they?
they have to earn, basically they have to earn their stripes. You know, if Ariel says to an angel, a common angel, that's striving to be a warrior angel, you have to go into the physical world and live a life before you can be, can be even, offer the position of a warrior angel. And no angel in their right mind wants to go and be in the physical world. They don't really want to be here. But part of that is proving the fact that you will go into the physical world and live a physical life to serve the light, even if it means laying down your life for it. There's that type of thing goes on all the time. That would prove, that you would give your life for the light, and that would prove that you are dedicated to doing the work of the light, no matter how much you hate to be physical world person.
And I'm kind of curious too if some of the common angels, when they came to live, here on the earth and do their trial, were like, hey, I actually, this isn't so bad. I want to stick around as a
No,
human.
no, I haven't come across any that did. And I've been in touch with over 4,000 warrior angels. They find me, they come to me, and to so I can tell them their name. And each warrior angel has its own name, which brings power with it. And they have their own abilities. Some are specialists in uh, strategy, healing, communication. Uh, they do. Each one has at least one specialty. And usually, when they are born into the physical world, those specialties will come out in a physical form. So if you're a healer on this, on the other side, say if you're a healer warrior angel, and then you're born into the physical world and you become a nurse or a doctor or a psychiatrist, some listener of some kind. There's all different kinds of healings. Then that will show up, because that's what you'll be.
And so I want to take a sidestep for another second because you are the founder of Ghost and Girls Paranormal. So I'm kind of
Hmm.
curious, how did that group come about and what made you decide to form a group, and what all your, do you have a specialty that you do in the paranormal, or are you a team that just goes out
Yeah.
just to go out?
No, it's Ghosts and Girls Paranormal. I formed it. There was just the two of us. Um, Me and my friend Wendy. Uh, I do all the heavy lifting. I do all the demon stuff. But Ghosts and Girls Paranormal specializes in negative entities, identification and removals. So I do the removal part of it and the identification part of it. And Wendy does, I would say she's a diplomat. She talks to the clients and stuff, because my thing is, when I get to a location and there is a negative entity there, everything else fades away but the need to kill the demon. So, she'll talk to them and explain what I'm doing and how I work, because I have that like one track mind. I'm there for the demons, and that's all it's about. So once I remove them, people say that they feel everything feels much lighter. They don't have any problems with them anymore. And, it because the demons will take over your life and destroy you slowly but surely. And that's the
So
main
with
reason I founded the group, was to help people.
no, that's very admirable, and thank you for that. And what what do you have to say to people in the paranormal community who go and claim to be like the people who, like, some call themselves demonologists, some are like, oh,
Mm.
I've taken on like 5 or 6 demons already, and if you have any, let me know. I can totally, you know do you see them and be like, no, you're not? Or
Most, yeah. Oh, yeah. I call a spade, because, it's like I had one guy come to me and says, I do what you do. And I said, no, you don't. I said, if you did what I did, you wouldn't have an attachment. He had a negative entity attachment he wanted me to get rid of. I'm like, really? Give me a break. I had a group that contacted me because this guy said he could remove the demon from this older couple's house, and he charged them $1,800 to do it. And he came out with a little vial of water and said, "Here, I've got the demon here in this bottle." I'm like, oh, talk about scam artists, man. Because,
yeah.
anybody that, when I remove demons, there's no water left behind, there's nothing left behind. And I do not charge for that, because that's God's work. You do not charge for God's work. I really hate people that try to scam people and try to say that they are what they are not.
And and with you being in the paranormal field as long as you have, and I'm not meaning this like an ageism question, so don't. I hope you don't take it that way. But I'm more looking at how many cases have you been on where the people are like, "Oh, there's a demon in my house," and you get there and you're like, "No, it was just an angry spirit. It's misidentified." Do you find that more often, or do you find because people believe it, so they manifest them and they are there?
Oh, people, yeah, people will think, oh, automatically people go to the mindset of, if something negative happens, it's a demon. Everything's a demon. It's like, no, you just pissed off Uncle George over there, and he's throwing things around. It's like, if there's nothing there, that's negative, I'm going to tell, there's nothing here that's negative. Here's this person, or they're like, okay, I went in on a case with the children's theater, and they called me in because this demon, quote unquote, was scaring the kids. It was like an 8 foot tall shadow person, and it was scaring the kids, and everybody was seeing it. And I went there, and I'm like, really? I'm like, it was a short, fat, balding guy who never got any respect in life. So he was damn sure going to get respect in death. So he made everybody see him as an 8 foot tall shadow person. I mean, spirits, demons, angels, they can make you perceive them as they wish to be perceived. big bad, But see, they can't do that with me because I can see through it all. So they think they can until they meet me, and then they're like, yeah, okay. I said, don't do it again. I'm sending you back to the light. Goodbye.
No, that and good for you for that. And what do you think about when people say, "Oh, this spirit or this ghost or this entity is stuck here and they're stuck in one spot"? Do you feel that's actually true, or that that's a misnomer and like kind of like disinformation
It,
because they're energy and we can't contain and keep an energy somewhere?
no, but they can. See, that's the difference. If they don't want to leave a location, or they don't want, they have the free will. If they don't want to leave the location where they died or location where their loved one, is living, then you can't make them. Some of them will see, say, some of them will die like 200 years ago, right? And they don't see the passage of time. They don't see the changes that surround them. They still see the house or the street or the building as it was when they were alive. They don't grow, they don't progress. They become stuck in their own time. In that manner, it does happen quite a bit.
And so,
But it's up to the individual to say, hey, I don't want to be here anymore and leave.
right. And so I'm kind of curious with, the work that you do, seeing, being the demon seer or seeing the spirits, the people. Have you ever come across entities where you're like, you're neither human, ghost, or demon? It's like, what some people would call like a star race, like an ET coming. Have you ever come across?
Well, yeah, there's ETs. I've been in communication with them. I don't really like them. They communicate telepathically, and I really don't like them. But I've come across. Well, you have the watchers. They're kind of neutral. They literally they that's what they do. They watch. And then there are the harpies. The harpies are kind of like scavengers of the people of the damned, so to speak. It comes straight out of darn Greek mythology. But yeah, they kind of, the first time I ran into them was about, I don't know, about 15, 20 years ago. And I'm like, I'm headed home. It's night. And I hear this flapping of wings. And I'm like, what the heck is that? It's dark. What is going to be out here flying around? And so I slow to a crawl and I see these creatures up above my car. And my grandma, who's been dead for a while, she says, pay no attention to them. They're the scavengers of the damned. She says, don't invoke them. Don't provoke them. Don't talk to them. I'm like, why? It don't make no difference to me. She's like, no, they're not nice. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But you see them from time to time, just like the watchers. You see them from time to time.
Have you ever come across
I
the
just
Fae?
ignore them most of the time.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Ignore.
And when I went to, it's funny, when I went to Scotland, yeah, when I went to Scotland, yeah. And, that just, they don't really bother you. They don't bother me because the angelic energy, they can see that and they don't want to have anything to do with it. So when I went to Glasgow and I went to Edinburgh and some parts of England, I went to Stonehenge, that type of thing. You'll see them everywhere. They don't bother me and I don't bother them.
No, that's the best way to be in doing your healing work. Have you ever come across to where like somebody, you know, let's say like Ireland. They built a house where they shouldn't have, and the Fae now are upset. And so when you're doing healing work on them,
Yeah,
going, oh, you pissed off these people, so if you can make amends with
yeah,
them, this will get better. And
yeah. And this is what you need to do to make amends. Yeah, usually we'll tell them what they need to do, and 9 times out of 10 they'll do it because they don't need any more problems. You know, kind of like the Native American stuff here. You plant a tree, make them feel better. You're building something on their land, and it's their land. Don't be pissing them off.
and I'm kind of curious your opinion of like the UK versus the US, and the fact of, and when I say UK, I know this isn't politically correct, but I'm referring to Britain, the British Isles, and Ireland as one entity, not the individual
And
countries.
Scotland,
Just
yeah. Although they
yeah,
don't consider themselves that, yeah,
yeah. I'm just
yep.
saying this is for the. I'm only doing this for the point of this conversation piece, not for anything else. But I've noticed over in the UK, the Fae are more entwined with life, and even though they don't believe, they still have respect for them, and they still will follow the traditions
Hmm.
of what's
Right.
going on and interacting with them. But here in the US, we don't seem to care. And so why, I'm curious, in your opinion, why is one area more connected to, and another area seems like you can't get an extension cord long enough to connect these two?
Well, because if you stop and think about it, the UK has been around for a long, long time. They have a lot more history. They have a lot more tradition, rather than the US, which is a younger nation. You do have connection if you're Native American. They were here long before the white man came. So, it's all about the traditions and belief and the age factor. They've been around forever and ever. The U.S. is a new country, and we blow everything off, and we shouldn't because there's a lot of things that everything's new. Yeah, instead of rebuilding something, you buy something new. You don't fix it. You buy something new. You throw it away. And that's what we do in the U.S. Whereas in England, we'll fix it. We'll keep it. We'll observe the traditions. Um, my friend that I was visiting, her husband died at 59 years of age suddenly, and he was from Ireland, and she was born in Essex. And so he was a lot more steeped in tradition than she is, but she still has that built in tradition from her grandmother and her mother's mother and, way back because they've been there forever. So that sort of thing just doesn't go away. Not even your younger generations, respect that because they know. I mean, they grew up with that stuff. Just like my grandmother was from Ireland originally, and I grew up with that stuff. It's something you respect. It's not something to be, laughed at or to be, forgotten.
No, that's a really great way to put it. And I'm kind of curious from a personal viewpoint of being a Reiki healer versus, the kind of the work that you do. Have, because you talk about, you're not surprised by much things that you run into. Have you ever
Yeah.
been working on a client where you were doing a healing and you're like, whoa, this actually surprised me? I wasn't anticipating this arriving or seeing this.
Or something being attached to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not really surprised. I mean, when you're doing healing, it opens a door. So a lot of things take advantage of that and come. Like if I'm working on you, your family that's crossed will probably take advantage of that and come and talk to me and get, if they have a message for you and you give them the message, and or if they have something that's attached to them that shouldn't be attached to them, I'll just remove it, and after the session, I'll just let them know about it. So, I usually know, sometimes people will get a earthbound spirit that's attached to them because they look like somebody that this earthbound spirit knew in life, or they're looking for someone, or they'll if I'm hanging around, they'll come and they'll ask me, "Can you help?" That type of thing. So,
Yeah. You made a point earlier, and I kind of want to piggyback on it for a second, where you were saying a spirit could be 200 years old, but it sees like the house or the building as it was 200 years ago. So when we
right.
see spirits, that seem to be walking through walls or hovering in the air because they're going
Mm-hmm.
upstairs, so to speak, could that be that's because
Right,
that spirit is
right.
operating
Or
from the
they're going
floor
to a door
plane?
that no longer exists. Yeah.
Right. So is it,
Hmm.
you think it's
Yeah,
more
they're
of
still
they're
stuck in
walking
their
the,
in their era. Yeah, it's just normal. Hmm.
so people shouldn't
Yeah,
be
they're walking
freaking
through the
out?
house the way it used to be when they were alive, and they still see it that way. No, they just like it's like I don't believe in people provoking, because I always tell people, I said, listen, if you want somebody to come in your house and yell at you and tell you to do something or not do something, just to get a rise out of you. That if you don't want somebody doing that to you, stop doing it to the people that are dead. It's not nice. Don't do it. It's not cool, no matter who you are and what you're trying to achieve.
Right. And I often will tell people, when you walk into a building and you're like, oh, I smell sulfur, there's a demon here. And it's just an angry spirit.
Hmm.
And you go public saying there's a demon. So then the next team comes, smells the sulfur. They're like, oh my
Right.
God, there is a demon here. It is a demon. And another team and another team. So we're finally, that angry spirit's like, hey, you want a demon? I'll give you a demon. So do you think that actually, happens to where
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it can happen.
investigators
You
are
don't piss off. Yeah. Yeah, they're making something out of nothing. Something that's not even there. It's it's kind of ridiculous, but people do that. I don't understand it. Why is I tell people, if you're going to investigate, if you're going to do a paranormal investigation and you think that you see something that looks like a demon or a dark entity while you're at the location, do not acknowledge it. Because if you acknowledge it, it's like you're waving your arms and saying, see me, and it'll attach itself to you, or at least cause problems for you for a while. You just can't do that. It's like it would be equivalent to walking in New York in rush hour with everybody walking in one direction, and you're the only idiot going in the opposite direction. Everybody sees you, and
right.
so the demon sees you. Yeah,
Right. And the other part of my question though is because so many people are putting the energy out that there is a demon there, can they manifest one? And one
they they
does
can
appear.
attract one. Yes, yeah, they can attract one in the dark realm and in the light realm. Thought becomes reality, and it is the intention behind the thought that gives it the power it needs to manifest. So if you've got all these people thinking there's a demon there and it just keeps going on, you're going to attract the demons. They're going to say, "Hey, what's going on over there? Let's go and check it out." And then
Yeah,
you're screwed.
because I like to say to people, demons are real. I get that, but they're not everywhere. They're not always around at every
No,
location. And like, I don't, and I kind of poke fun at, like, I'll say, for this example, Sheboygan, just because it's the name that pops in my head, going, oh yeah, there's a demon at the corner store in Sheboygan. I'm like, I don't see a demon going, Sheboygan's the place to be. There's a lot of activity over there. I'm gonna get a lot of energy. I feel like if there is a demon, they're more attracted to hot spots where there's a lot more stuff going on than just
yeah,
everyday
demons are.
life
Yeah,
drama.
they're more attracted to. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You'll find demons in prisons. You'll find them in hospitals. You'll find them in care facilities. You'll find them anywhere where there was a battle. Anywhere where there's a lot of negative energy, whether it's from humans. I tell people 99.9% of the negative energy in the world is from humans. It ain't from demons. Man,
Yeah,
figure it out.
I agree. And
Demons like, 1%, 0.1%.
here's an interesting thought that I started thinking about, is because, like you pointed out, the watchers, they can't interfere, they just watch. They're like the most annoying
Hmm.
beings out there. I know I have memories of being
Yeah.
one, and I hated it because I was like, what do you mean I can't do anything? I
Yeah. Just,
obviously need to do
yeah.
something.
It's just boring. It's gotta be boring gotta be boring as hell.
It is. But when I look at history, and I look at like battles, and let's take Gettysburg for example. We talk about
Oh
how
yeah.
angels are, you know, nudging us in certain ways to do certain things. And I feel like demons kind of can do the same thing, nudge and everything. And the fact that this 3-day battle took place on a site where nobody wanted to have a battle, there was like no strategic value to this place. I can't help but think in the back of my mind, going, did a demon tap somebody on the shoulder and go, turn right here instead of turning left? And boom, they both collided, and it was like
Yeah,
they got what
they
they
can do
wanted.
that. Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, demons whisper in your ears. They can go into your mind and influence you to go left instead of going right. But this angels can do the same. They can say go left instead of going right. But and people don't even realize it. They just think it's their own thoughts. But really, it's not. Demons will do that a lot, especially if the person is easily influenced. If they're not easily influenced, they'll find somebody that is, and they'll whisper in their ear, do this or do that.
Yeah.
Fire the first cannon, and everything will be okay.
And the other reason why I asked that and used Gettysburg as the example is everyone that all the books that I've read, and I haven't read them all, I guarantee you that, but the ones that I have and the shows that I've watched about Gettysburg, the one common thread is the general, being Lee, was making decisions he
Mhm.
normally doesn't make, and it was blunder on top of blunder on top of blunder, and it basically brought about the end of the CSA. So on one hand, you could say,
Yeah.
well, he was being influenced by the demons because he's acting out of character, but could someone also make the argument
Hmm.
angels were interfering because to keep the Union together, to keep America together, they needed
Because they
this
wanted
to
to,
end.
they wanted to, yeah.
So, how would you
Oh yeah,
determine
there
which
were
side is
influences on both
influencing?
sides there. Which, yeah, there were influences. There were both sides influencing in that battle. My my great 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 uncle was Ulysses S. Grant, and he was a great strategist. He was also a warrior angel.
And
So they
Grant is
were
one
the
of
warrior
those,
angel in him was influencing.
yeah. And Grant, I feel like, was misunderstood. And a lot of people go, oh, he was a drunk. But I don't think he ever actually drank. And I don't think it was that he was a lightweight or a drunk. I think,
No,
like you're saying, he was operating on a whole
he
different
hated
level.
he hated the yeah yeah, and he hated the killing. He hated all the people dying. And in the end, he was drinking alcohol. In the end, he was drinking laudanum, which is a mixture of alcohol and opium, because he had throat cancer. He died of throat cancer, which is very painful.
Yeah. But,
But Mark Twain wrote his bio.
yeah. And I feel like Grant and Sherman combined was what with Sheridan kind of to there it was almost like there were a few more, like I would almost say, warrior angels on the north at the end of the war
Yeah.
in command
Oh yeah.
than on the south, because it seemed like
Yeah.
whoever
Yeah.
was pushing the south in the beginning, that was doing everything great, started pulling off and being like, nope, we're no longer helping you. And it
Yeah.
was a blunder
Yeah.
here, a blunder there.
That was the demons. Yeah, the demons were the ones who started with the South.
Yeah.
And then once more of the warrior angels got involved, then it's like, oh shit, we need to back off.
Yeah, and I will say I've had people talk about, like, eh, we call it the astral realm. I don't know what term you use for it, but when we're traveling in our sleep state, basically,
Hmm.
I'll hear like a friend in trouble, and I'll make this entrance, and I'll be like, get up, kind of dust, myself off, if I came through dirt, or, being like, oh, let me get the dirt off of me, like, no big deal. Sorry, let me clean myself off for a moment. Or if I just phase in, I'll just look behind me and then I'll look back and go, what's going on? And it's like this entrance that I make, it seems like it stuns whoever's on the other side. And they're like, okay, either they flee or I take action super fast. And you had mentioned earlier, and I'll share this because it's you were saying it about my story, is you like I had the warrior angel energy in me. Is that
Hmm.
what makes that entrance so impactful, and where I've come off kind of like
Yeah.
almost
And,
cocky?
yeah, it makes it much easier. Yep, and it makes it much easier as well.
Okay.
When my friend's husband died, she asked me. She was in the hospital when he died, had surgery, and she asked me to have Ariel bring him to her. And so I sent Ariel to bring her husband to her. And she said it was a couple of minutes later, and she let me know he was, she had brought him, and that she could say goodbye to him. And I knew it would be a while um, before he would be buried, because she had spinal surgery. So I asked Michael to reserve his body until she could have the funeral, which was 2 months later. And the mortuary couldn't figure it out because it would be like he just died yesterday. There was no decomposition or anything to the body. And they buried him.
That seems kind of strange because you would think the mortuary would have facilities, to preserve the body, and they wouldn't be shocked that the
But
body is actually being preserved.
no, because the body still does start decomposing. Even though you take the blood all out and stuff, the tissues and stuff start decomposing. So they couldn't figure it out. And I told Michael, I said, thanks for doing that for her. Because she couldn't have the funeral because she couldn't walk. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting in my head because I would be thinking that, well, I guess no. I was going to say I would have been asking Raphael, but Raphael's the healer. You weren't wanting healing. So, yeah, he probably would have been the wrong one to ask.
Now, Raphael doesn't say much. But when he does say something, you better listen because he don't say anything until he has a need to, and it's usually important. So you listen.
Now, I do have a question. Maybe you and or Ariel can answer. Is each of the archangels that we've been mentioning recently, they have sigils that are everybody knows them by that sigil. Like Michael has the blue flame sword. Raphael has the staff. Is this,
That's all human. That's all human stuff. That's all human stuff. I mean,
okay?
Michael has a sword, of course, and the staff. Nah, they wouldn't be cut dead with the staff. They all have swords because it's all about the demonics and killing the demons. They don't
Yeah,
really humans. It's like humans make things that I'm like, where are you coming off from that stuff? It's like I don't understand where you're getting that stuff from because none of them would have anything like that, and Ariel certainly wouldn't. She has 2 swords that she carries on her back in a holder, and the boys. That's what I call them, the boys. Raphael, Gabriel, and Ariel. And Michael. They all have their own swords and cases. So, but the swords are created out of white light energy, and
yeah.
they burn hot.
And if I was to say, an archangel's weapon versus a lightsaber, I'd be like that lightsaber ain't gonna help them at all. It's yeah, the
No,
lightsaber.
it would never survive.
Yeah,
It'd be
it's like
cutting through,
no.
the Michael's sword be cutting through that like butter.
Yeah, he'd be like, "What is that? That's not even a sword." It would. I could
Nope.
totally see him being like the Crocodile Dundee in the movie where he goes, "That's
Yeah,
not a knife.
that's not a
This
knife.
is
This
a
is
knife."
exactly. Yeah. Well, at least the boys all have a good sense of humor. That's one thing about them. They'll have to have one, considering what you do. That's why my logo for Ghosts and Girls Paranormal is 2 girls that are investigating, and they're peeking around a corner, with a recorder, and behind them is a ghost looking scared. It's like, you know what? It's a dark thing. You got to have a sense of humor about it. Come
Oh yeah.
on. Life's
So
too short.
yeah. So if since your team is Ghost and Girls, I can't help but think if a guy, was like, "Hey, I really like what you guys are doing, and I think that I could be a valued asset and want to join." would you consider it, or would you be like, "Hey, you're not a girl, so sorry, you're just out"?
No, no, right. You're just out. Yeah. You'd be surprised about how many people don't want to do what I do. Nobody wants to deal with demons. So it's like, but for me, it's just, like I said, it's second nature. So I don't pay no attention. So,
Yeah, I don't go looking for them, but I have a feeling, and it's just a feeling I have inside of me that if I came across one, I'd be standing my ground and being like, "Yeah, this isn't going to end the way you think it is." And I have that inner awareness, but
yeah. But
thankfully I
they, but
haven't
be,
had to
yeah,
activate it.
but because your warrior angel is front and center, they won't mess with you. Because Michael trains your warrior angel. Each member of the Legion of Light trains the warrior angels, takes them on and trains them individually, one on one.
But can a warrior angel ever rise up to archangel, or the archangels are forever the archangels,
They
and
are,
what's that?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, warrior angels, that's as high as they can go. But that's a privilege for them as well. And they're happy to be the warrior angels. They're like, the in the battle, you have the ones that are out front, which are the archangels, and then you have the meat of it, the warrior angels in the battle.
Yeah. And I can't help but thinking, because our entire history has been borrowed from one thing to another throughout time. When I think of like the battle of, like when you watch the movie Immortals, at the end scene is you see the
Oh yeah.
gods are up there battling the Titans, and for
Hmm.
control. And I can't help but think, is that really another viewpoint of the war in heaven that we were talking about earlier? It's like, is it just the same story retold, but this time they're calling
Yeah.
them the gods and
It's
Titans?
probably, yeah, right. It's probably just something somebody thought of, and this would happen, or I'm sure this is what happened, or I'm sure that's what happened. Whoever wrote it, there's a lot of battles with the Greek stuff forever and ever. I studied Greek mythology forever, but it's all about human nature too. You stop and think about it, because we
Right.
attribute to the light and the angels and the demons, we attribute human nature characteristics. The need for revenge and the need to fight for, or to defend. So we're thinking like humans. Like Ariel likes to tell me, stop thinking like a human, but I can't help it. I am.
Yeah. So, one other question I have, and that is, what do I've often thought of, if I was to walk into like a church and be like, let my warrior angel out, I'd be like, man, would that just level the ground and be like, not such a great idea? But in order, to kind of like dispel all the disinformation and bring out the
The
truth,
war,
and everything. And I wonder, Ariel,
yeah.
going through what she's going
The
through,
rules are
does
they're
she like,
handled by rules and regs, just
yeah,
like, and Ariel has lived well. There are rules and regulations for the archangels, just as there are for the war angels. And there are certain things she can and cannot do, and there are certain things she can and cannot tell. So it wouldn't be allowed. And again, it would attention. There are the demons, and there's plenty of rogue demons out there that would cause problems. They would try their darndest. Because the rogues, instead of normal demon, would come at you like a linebacker, and just tackle you. Okay, rogue demons don't do that. They work around you. They influence the people and places around you so that you don't get what you want, so that they keep you from getting what you want. Say you go for an interview for a job, and the person says, "Oh man, you're perfect. We're hiring you. I'll give you a call and let you know about when you're going to start." And so you go home feeling really good about it. And then you get a call the next day saying, "Oh, sorry, we hired somebody else." That's the rogues preventing you from getting what you wanted, that job,
Right.
or that car, or that house. That's how they work, because they learned that from the ancient demons. And nobody likes the ancient demons.
No. And yeah, and I hear about people saying they want to bring back this or that, and I'm like, no, you don't. you have no idea what you're gonna unleash.
Yeah, it's like people that, summon demons, or they'll hire somebody to summon a demon to stick on somebody, which really pisses me off. And so what I do when they come to my attention is I take the demon that they had stuck on some innocent person, and I stick it on them, the person that summoned it. And for some reason, they don't like that.
You know,
Payback.
and yeah, and part of me thinks about activating that lovely universal law that people often confuse as karma, and that is when you unleash something, let's say it's at, twofold. You put extra oomph to it. Well, in reality, it's going to turn around and bite you at like 14
Hmm.
instead of
Hmm.
because you put that extra in there. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I like to think in
and
my head
and
is,
that's yeah, it's kind yeah, it's kind of like the people that summon demons to do their bidding, only they don't realize that the demon's going to turn on them. It just it plays with them for a little while and then turns on them. So yeah,
well, that, and
people are stupid when it
yeah,
comes to
and
summoning demons.
there are times that I wonder too if like a demon was, present at a location, and let's say hypothetically you show up when Ariel's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Is there going to be that "what are you doing here?" and that, "Oh, someone summoned me
No,
to do something here," or is it, do they just like, nope, you don't even get a chance to explain, they're just
they
removed?
no, they don't get a chance to explain. And when she encounters the demon, she knows exactly why it's there, how it got there, and what it's been doing. It's just instinctive that all that information just comes. And so I get information as well. And now, as people say, don't you talk, what do demons have to say? You talk to them? I said, they've got nothing to say that I want to listen to. So I don't talk to them, except Lucifer once in a while, because he wants something.
And I find it interesting, talking about Lucifer. When people look at like what the names of the angels and archangels mean, Lucifer to me is the one that's most confusing actually, because if I'm not mistaken, isn't it like son of light or something, which seems quite opposite of
Uh,
what he's doing?
yeah, right. Yeah, I think it means bringer of light or something like that. I can't remember. I just went brain
Yeah,
dead for a
I think
moment.
it is bringer
But
of
it's
light.
like Ariel's name. Ariel means, yeah, Ariel means Lion of God. defender of heaven. And
Yeah.
sometimes she'll appear to people in between lifetimes as a white winged lion. So
I know, and we're getting close to the hour and a half,
oh
and
yeah,
I
no,
knew
Lucifer means yeah, Lucifer means the shining one.
that's it. Yeah,
That's what his name means, the shining one.
but being that we're getting close to the hour and a half, we touched on this earlier. You hit on it, but I want to kind of clarify a little bit, and that is so using the hypothetical because, and I'm going to say hypothetical because we're still existing, but you and I transition on. We both have warrior angels attached to
Mm-hmm.
us. When we transition on, do they transfer to another human to continue the work, to continue
No,
what their task is, or do they go through a review kind of like we do and determine, hey, I'm finally done, don't have to go back down there anymore, mission accomplished?
no, that's the confusing thing for a lot of people is that even though my soul is Ariel, so even though we're separate, I have a soul consciousness and I have a physical consciousness. Even though we're separate, we're one. So when this body dies, she goes back to the other side. Your warrior angel goes back to the other side. And then they make the determination if they want to come back again or if God gives them an assignment, then they'll come back, or if they want to stay on the other side. So this is her last incarnation. She's not coming back. She doesn't want to. She's not going to.
Yeah.
She's going to
And
go back and just spend the rest of her time up there.
okay. Well, congratulations to her. And hopefully it's not anytime soon because I'm sure you have things you still want to
Yeah,
accomplish.
when I'm 98, I've seen my death, so I don't worry about it.
One thing, real quick, I want to ask you about, and because this is a rare chance to talk with angels about this, is the premise of the movie City of Angels, where an angel decides to quote fall to have the human experience, and they have to give up their angelic heritage and become mortal. Then they were like, the reason he became mortal is taken away. And they're like, was it worth it? He's like, yes, it still was worth it. But my question is, one, if an angel does decide to become mortal, when their time is up, are they caught up in the now human reincarnation cycle, or can they return to angelic status?
No, they just return like me. It's like when this body dies, Ariel just returned to the Legion as usual, like she does in all the lifetimes. She goes back to the Legion. It's about learning and growing, and most people that reincarnate, the reason the soul reincarnates is to improve itself, is to learn and grow. And in Ariel's case, she's growing in the way that she's learning to have compassion for mankind, you know, even though she didn't have any compassion for them in the beginning. But living the physical world lives has been educational for her. She has
And
learned
so,
a lot.
yeah, and if you have a near death experience, technically dying, is she released and then you come back still, or because you come back, she comes back and it's like false alarm, sorry, you're still here?
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, No, I was clinically dead for 2 minutes, so I was dead. And um, Ariel went to the other side, and my consciousness went to the other side as well. She took it with her, and so that's why I experienced everything I did on the other side, and understood what I was meant to do. And like Michael said, you're meant to come here and experience this so you understand who and what you are and what your mission is in this lifetime. So it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. It's like not like we can argue with them.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's like, all right, whatever. I'm easy going. I'm pretty mellow. Except if you piss me off, then Ariel comes forward, and it's never a good thing.
Yeah, and uh, just wow. I'm like wishing we had more time because I'm feeling like there's so many more aspects of this that we could get into, but yeah, it is an hour and a half, and I know you probably have other things you need to get to, especially returning from a trip recently. So I'm sure you're wanting to get some rest too.
Yeah, I was up for 26 hours when I finally got to sleep.
Yes. So one thing I like to do to wrap up my shows and to end my shows is kind of similar to what I did earlier, but in a different manner. And that is from my heart and the heart of my shows to you. Thank you for what you're doing for humanity. Thank you for being your authentic, true self and standing up and following your path and not choosing like some people do to use free will and say, nope, not this time, taking a vacation, so to speak, and that you instead said, nope, I'm going to do it. And so let's go. So thank you for that.
Yep, yep. Yeah, believe me, they'll give you a swift kick in the butt if you don't do it.
Yes, and before I play the outro and sign out for the night, you have some books. Would you like an opportunity to promote your books for a little bit?
Yeah, I do have, like, I released last year, the Angel Primer. Basically, it's a how-to book for incarnated angels, and it teaches you how to create weapons of light, how to merge with your soul consciousness. And then I just released my bio called Return of the Demon Seer. It was released in June. And I have a book called The Dark Side of the Paranormal. Basically, it gives away all the ugly secrets of the dark ones. And I have some fantasy books called Demon Seekers, The Journey Begins, and Demon Seekers into Darkness. It's a 7 series book. I've got 2 out. And I have some other books, A Medium's Guide to the Paranormal. There's 12 of them. If you just go on Amazon, you can find them.
No, and thank you.
They're all in audio and ebook and print. Yeah.
Wow. And you got 2 of 7, so you're going to be around for a while if you got 5 more books to write.
Yep. Yep. 5 more to write. Got another 30 years to go down here in the physical world.
Well, and something tells me you're not going to waste them. So thank you again for coming on and sharing your adventures and experiences with us. And everyone, please do follow along with her. And where can people find you on social media if they want to learn more or maybe get a healing from you?
Yeah. Yeah, they can go to my website, mysticconnections.org, and if they want to contact me, if they're having a problem with the removal, they want a removal or a demonic problem, or they want an intuitive reading, they can contact me through my website, or I'm on Facebook under June Lundgren.
Very cool. And so, do you have anything coming up that you'd want to promote?
Uh, they're having the Oregon Ghost Conference again coming up in March 19th through the 21st at Seaside, Oregon. And I'll be teaching a class and having a table there. So it'll be all weekend long, March 19th, 20th, and 21st. Come down and see me.
Yes, and I do apologize to everyone in the chat room. Uh, as we were talking, I did not see questions that were coming in, and so I do apologize. There were a couple that came in. Do you have time, June, to answer maybe one or two real quick, or?
Yeah, we can answer them real quick. Yeah.
Okay, one question is John Dort is asking, are angels of the light or dark male or female? Why are mostly male?
Um, that they don't really have a sex per se. Ariel has never incarnated as a male because she feels that the feminine energy is the more powerful one. But a lot of the dark ones are male. Yeah, that's true. Because of their need for battle, their need for revenge. But there are female ones as well. And it's usually the older demons they've got some females, heavy duty females in there.
Yes, and he goes on to ask, is there a galactic federation of aliens? I'm not quite so sure that's in your wheelhouse, being
Yep.
the angels.
Yeah, they are. They are. I've spoken with the Galactic Federation. Yeah.
Okay.
They don't get involved most of the time. They're the type that want to just sit back and watch everything happen and not get involved and not help, which is irritating.
Yeah, and John also was asking, who is Yahshua ben Joseph, the Jesus Christ? Who is the Holy Spirit?
Holy Spirit is not an entity per se. It is the light itself. The what you would call a God consciousness. People seem to think it's a separate entity, but it's not. And Jesus is actually the Son of God. He was created by God. He created his own son.
Yeah, and you have a. I think you. It looks like you have a fan in the chat room. Angie 103. She
Oh,
says, Mike,
yeah, yeah,
you should ask June about the creator and the awesome story about removing the ancient demons.
yeah. That would take me a while. That's for
Well,
another show.
yeah, we'll definitely have you back on, and we'll put a pencil in that one for that episode, because yeah, as I was looking at that, I was like, yeah, that doesn't look like something she can sum up in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a 2 minute question.
So thank you so much, and thank you everyone, and I do apologize that we missed some of your questions throughout the episode. Normally I'm more attentive and paying closer attention. Somehow I just wasn't seeing the comments, and so apologies to everyone. And thank you so much, June, for coming on again and sharing your wisdom and insights with us. And I hope you get a lot of rest this week and through the weekend and recharge your battery, so to speak. So thank you so much.
Fine. Yeah.
And with
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed my time with you.
yes, and hopefully we'll get you back on and we'll continue this conversation and
All right.
some new topics. And
Okay. Sounds good. All righty.
yes, and I am so grateful she came on too, Angie. And she says, get some rest. We love you. So there you go.
All right. Thanks for having me. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.